there's a real delight in being able to be a present parent. And it's a luxury sometimes because we all have to work. We all have a lot of stuff to do. But when you can take a minute to just...
Saturday morning.
Yeah. Mornings are as I get the kids off to school. You're making fruit parfait crudité boards? Like, oh my whom?
God. Oh my gosh, I work so hard.
Everybody says she's a bully. She's very nasty. Not only is she incredibly controlling, but she's a bitch.
I'm going to show you how to make a happy, warm, loving home after I have successfully severed my husband's ties from his entire family.
The moment the clip of pregnant Meghan Markle dancing in a hospital room resurfaced online, the internet exploded. Some praised it as bold and empowering. Others saw it as cringeworthy, inappropriate, even disrespectful to the royal institution she once represented. Then Meghan doubled down with no apologies and no clarifications. Just a podcast appearance calling it a moment of joy.
Did you see my baby mama dance?
I mean, stop it. First of all, can I just tell you, the timing of that, we maybe watched it like 20 times yesterday, and I was like, is that her?
Oh my God.
Is that Prince Harry there with the fingers and the... I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But also, by the way, that wasn't yesterday.
No,
that was 4 years ago. So it's also a really great reminder that with all the noise or whatever people do, there's still a whole life, a real, authentic, fun life that's happening behind the scenes. I'm just grateful that now, being back on social as well, I have a place where I can share it on my own terms.
But instead of silencing critics, her words only made matters worse. Megyn Kelly launched a vicious takedown, social media erupted, and even Meghan's usual defenders stayed quiet. It wasn't a new video. This clip had been filmed years ago, just a blurry moment of Meghan Markle swaying her hips, visibly pregnant, in what looked like a delivery room. But within hours, the video was everywhere. Social media lit up with reactions. Supporters called it a rare look at Meghan being carefree and real in the middle of what was likely a stressful chapter. But critics saw something else entirely. To them, it was performative, attention-seeking, and even disrespectful to the image she once tried to protect as a working royal. The clip might have faded quietly into the archives if Meghan had simply ignored it, but that's not what happened. Instead, she leaned into it heavily. On a recent episode of the Aspire podcast, Meghan addressed the moment head-on. She smiled, shrugged, and called it pure joy. According to her, the video was a private celebration captured during her first pregnancy, never meant for public eyes, but now reframed as a symbol of resilience and spontaneity. I've always been real, she insisted, brushing aside all criticism. But that calm response didn't de-escalate anything. If anything, it only worsened it. Because once Meghan made it public once, she turned that private moment into a branded message. People stopped seeing a simple dance. What could have been dismissed as a quirky throwback suddenly became something much bigger, because Meghan didn't just release a video. She triggered an online debate. Then, Megyn Kelly, within hours of Markle's podcast episode dropping, dedicated a scorching segment on her show to breaking down what she saw as the latest example of Meghan's tone-deaf self-promotion. But Kelly didn't just go after the video. She went after the entire narrative Meghan was trying to build to Kelly. The clip wasn't about joy or empowerment. It was about ego, about turning an intimate moment of childbirth into clickbait. This isn't feminism, she said flatly. This is performance. Kelly accused Meghan of using modern buzzwords like authenticity, joy, and realness as bait behind the soft lighting and light language. Kelly argued that this was a calculated attempt to turn a moment into a branded statement. Not vulnerability, just strategy, but she didn't stop there. Kelly went deeper, calling the moment a slap in the face to the monarchy Meghan once claimed to respect. And while Kelly has never been a royalist herself, she made it clear that this wasn't about protecting tradition. It was about calling out hypocrisy. According to her, Meghan wasn't trying to reclaim a narrative, she was trying to control it. And just like that, the conversation was no longer about whether the video was inappropriate. It became about whether Meghan Markle could ever truly be real, or if every moment was just another part of a meticulous PR trick. Kelly painted Meghan as a manipulator of modern media and someone who weaponizes vulnerability for her own benefit. And Kelly didn't just speak for the haters. She echoed the unspoken doubts even some of Meghan's fans had started whispering. And with that, the backlash started to come. As Megyn Kelly's words hit news segments and social media platforms, the internet picked a side unified and went to war against Megyn. Within hours, hashtags like hashtag disgrace to Diana, hashtag strip the titles, and hashtag not my Duchess surged across X. The debate was vicious. What started as a dance video quickly devolved into a crisis on Meghan Markle's entire public identity. TikTok creators stitched together Meghan's podcast audio with Megyn Kelly's takedown. Others reenacted the hospital dance with sarcastic captions. One viral post was brutally blunt, saying, "There's a difference between being real and being reckless." What made this backlash sting even more was the silence. Meghan's usual defenders, like A-list celebrities, progressive commentators, and royal sympathizers who had always rushed to her side, said nothing. The silence felt loud, almost like distancing, for someone who had once been publicly embraced by Hollywood's elite. The lack of support now was unmistakable. Entire videos began dissecting her word choices, her tone, and even her facial expressions. Analysts broke down the way she smiled while defending the clip, questioning whether it was genuine or rehearsed. Even viewers who once considered themselves neutral admitted they felt manipulated. While the internet spiraled, Buckingham Palace remained silent, but insiders say the reaction behind those gates was far from calm. According to royal sources, the video itself wasn't what rattled the establishment. It was Meghan's response. For an institution that thrives on dignity, her podcast defense was seen as nothing short of provocative. Senior aides reportedly didn't see it coming. One insider allegedly described it as an unraveling of everything the monarchy stands for. There was no official statement, no denial, no defense, but the absence spoke volumes. According to palace sources, what followed was a calculated distancing from the Duchess behind closed doors. Whispers began circulating about limiting Meghan's ability to use her royal styling in future media projects. Some advisors reportedly questioned whether it was time to formally cut the remaining threads between Meghan and the crown. Even more telling was the personal silence. No gesture of support from senior royals, not from Charles, not from Kate, not even from Harry, who remained publicly mute as the controversy spiraled. Prince William, typically stoic and silent on family drama, is said to have expressed quiet concern, not just about Meghan's stunt, but about the damage it might do to the monarchy's image. Inside the palace, it wasn't rage, it was something worse: embarrassment. While the royals stayed quiet, Meghan's inner circle went into chaos. Advisors were divided, some urging a swift and strategic retreat, others pushing for a bold counterattack. One group reportedly wanted to scrub the podcast references quietly, delete the viral clip from circulation, and let the story fade. The other camp insisted on leaning into the joy narrative and turning the backlash into a discussion about society's discomfort with empowered women. The indecision created its own kind of instability. Every bit of silence gave the media more space to speculate. Reports began surfacing that Netflix, one of Meghan and Harry's biggest partners, had started re-evaluating their future involvement. According to one insider, executives were concerned about brand alignment, especially after the twerking video overshadowed Meghan's public persona. Brand consultants began drafting multiple crisis strategies. One included the possibility of an apology tour where Meghan could express regret, reframe the moment, and reset the narrative. But another insider claimed Meghan's team floated the idea of a follow-up podcast to clear the air, a plan many rejected as too soon. The problem wasn't just the video anymore. The media had seized control of the story, and Meghan's team was no longer guiding the conversation. And in the world of celebrity reputation, perception is everything. And as the backlash swelled, it became painfully clear the message she thought she was sending had crumbled. Meghan's public image has always walked a delicate line of being royal yet relatable, polished yet personal. But after the twerking video and podcast defense, that shattered. What once seemed like authenticity now felt fake. Words like joy, empowerment, and unapologetic, once the cornerstone of Meghan's brand, were now being questioned by critics. Social media feeds were plastered with clips of Meghan's podcast quotes in the video. One viral user commented, "This isn't vulnerability, this is rollout." Even supporters began hesitating because they too questioned the motive to them. It wasn't the dancing, it was the delivery. It was the way Meghan presented it and packaged it with branding. What could have been a touching, even playful moment now reeked of PR stunting. And when every moment starts to look like marketing, audiences begin to wonder if anything is genuine at all. Even some of Meghan's loyal fans took to social media to ask the hard questions. Was this really about joy or attention? It wasn't betrayal they were feeling. It was a weariness from watching a narrative that seemed less like a personal journey and more like a campaign. This wasn't just a single misstep. It was a turning point. The kind that changes how people talk about you and whether they believe what you say next. As the backlash continued to fire, another silence grew even louder. The same Hollywood industry that once embraced embraced Megyn was suddenly nowhere to be found. No supportive posts or public endorsements from allies. Not even a friendly mention from the usual TV host. This silence wasn't just noticeable. It was chilling. Behind the scenes, it was worse. Reports began surfacing that producers and brand executives were quietly stopping things. One insider claimed that several companies affiliated with Megyn's upcoming lifestyle line held emergency meetings to assess reputational risk. One source put it bluntly, "We're not touching that clip. Not now, not ever." For Megyn, that kind of hesitation is dangerous. In Hollywood, perception is everything. When studios, sponsors, and partners sense instability or disfavor, they simply vanish. And that's exactly what seemed to be happening. Even networks that had once platformed her projects reportedly began reviewing whether future collaborations made sense. When support dries up in private, it eventually disappears in public too. And for someone who's carefully built a media empire around relatability, inspiration, and visibility, being ghosted by the industry is the ultimate warning sign. This wasn't just a viral moment anymore. It was a liability. So who is Meghan Markle really trying to be? A woman owning her truth, a former royal breaking tradition. Because what this moment exposed was a fracture in identity. Megyn has always positioned herself as both modern and regal. But the twerking video, and more importantly, her response to it, cracked that illusion to traditional audiences. The moment crossed a line. It was about dignity. But even younger fans found it too performative. And for her critics, it was simply confirmation that Megyn wasn't being authentic, but calculated. Every new headline, every unfiltered quote, reopens wounds the monarchy has spent years trying to close. And even Prince William is said to be quietly alarmed by the long-term effects. Behind the walls of Buckingham Palace, whispers of further distancing are rising. For Megyn, the stakes are no longer just personal. Her brand is under constant scrutiny. Every word she says next will be judged. Because when your identity is built on being real, even a single misstep can look like betrayal. What started as a playful dance has spiraled into a full identity crisis. Megyn wanted to reclaim the narrative, to show joy in vulnerability. But instead, the royals have distanced, Hollywood has gone silent, and even her supporters are starting to question things. Megyn may have meant to spark inspiration, but instead, she may have triggered her biggest fallout yet. So now the question isn't just about a video. It's about the legacy. Did Megyn misread the moment? Or did she show a side of herself the world wasn't ready to accept? Let us know what you think, because this conversation is far from over.